In the current situation when the people are working from home, these findings have taken from the various surveys that the people see that they have a challenge with their work-life balance. The things have mixed up totally. They are putting, many people have reported they are putting much more longer hours than actually in the normal circumstances, and especially the irregular hours. Many people feel isolated. Many people are concerned about their job security because the business is not doing well, completely locked down as such. They're also worried about the family members who are living around them, and so they focus on their family members' health or the focus on the job. There are many things which are coming in the mind of the people and which may affect their productivity as such. And one more thing, the last thing is that despite that many surveys has proved that if the person work from home is more effective, but the managers in general do not accept this. They still want people to work from office. But today is a different scenario altogether. So this acceptability is also an issue. Probably we also, even today, we are working in a denial mode, probably. On the other side, let's look at the concerns of the managers. What they see is the productivity is low. They are actually chasing target dates and they are not meeting those timelines. Sometimes they are not getting the productivity from the people, so they see that the people are taking advantage of being in the home. When there are some issues, they take longer to resolve or they don't get resolved altogether because you are missing those face-to-face meetings as such. And sometimes for the manager, it is really difficult. Some people, some team members, they probably go in a different path altogether. How to do that? And many times if they have to get the timeline is really very strict, they have to micromanage the person to get the job done, which is like not comfortable to team member as well as not the manager. Ultimately, what is the result? The productivity is lower, overall effectiveness is low, and therefore they are not seeing that they are meeting the timelines. So when he is facing these kind of situations, he's also have a lot of constraints actually, and see that what to do in these constraints that make life even more difficult. This has come completely as a surprise, this situation. There was no preparation. Nobody was knowing that the whole business, which even stop for a day, people start crying. We are over 50 days here. Nothing is happening. This is completely unthoughtful, unprecedented, like not able to understand. And this is completely like you have caught off-handed what to do in such situation. We don't have any kind of experience in dealing with such situations. We have low exposure to manage a team which is completely off the scene. There's no face-to-face communication. People are recruited recently. They may not have even the engagement with the organization and with the project manager or managers. Sometimes IT infrastructure is an issue. I know one of my clients is they have engineers. These engineers do not have even computers actually. Sometimes technology glitches like internet, like slow internet. There are some speed of the internet is not working. The home is made for home, not for doing the office work, right? Sometimes you face some hardware issue as such, and how to resolve that hardware issue. No engineer can travel to home. And then there are security issues. They don't have the confidential information, how to share, how to protect and there are cases actually, and this is surveys can tell this, that when the people are working from home, they are more prone to leak such kind of information, or such kind of things are more possible actually. But there are positive things also. There's not always all the things are negative. The smartphone is very prevalent. Everybody has it. And this way you can have like discussion with anyone, even if they don't have computers. You can have Zoom meetings, attend webinars and seminars and all those things, and can have some meetings all together. Second is that this situation has arisen. The people who were not accepting that people can work from home, all the team, they are now in the more acceptable mode. They want to find alternatives. There is no choice. So finding alternative, how to effectively work in this scenario. So there is more acceptability, which will work like a catalyst in this environment for us. Trying various ways to how to work together in this situation. Now look at this. In this whole scenario, what is to be done? There are issues, there are concerns, there are some, maybe few, but there are some advantage also. But what is to be done in this whole situation? Let's look at this. If you're thinking, I'm going to talk about effective communication channel, the tools, best tools for web conferencing, video conferencing, how to bring the people closer to each other, or how the people can come, or this distance can be reduced. Probably that's not the thing which I'm going to share altogether. I think you are intelligent enough. You have worked out all these logistics your own, and all these are already in place. Whatever best you can do, you might have done. What I am trying to do here is that bringing a perspective where the distance become irrelevant. The distance become irrelevant. It does not matter. The team member is sitting just next to you, in front of you, or hundreds of kilometers away. So where I'm going to focus is that how we can make this distance completely irrelevant. And then it will not be difficult altogether to manage the team, either they're co-located or they're virtual. Right? I'm going to focus on that how you can lead the team, bind all the team members. You can align them all towards one goal, reduce distractions. You can inspire them, make a cohesive team all together, which can bring more productivity to us, which can deliver better results, even better results than they were co-located. But the question will continuously be there, that how are we going to achieve this? Before we take action, let's paint a picture of the final outcome. What exactly we want. Let's write our objectives. If we take or we do all these things, how the world will look like. And that will come from that what a manager wants, so that the team become more effective, more productive, can achieve more in less time, less work, less efforts. So what a prime manager wants, let's see the future, the painting of the future thing. What the manager wants, the people should take responsibility of their work. I need not to remind them every time that this is your work. Once it is given, they should do it, right? It's so obvious. But I still remind them. I want that they should take their responsibility. Remain committed to project objectives. I need not to reiterate the objectives against them, that this deliverable is due on this date. This project has to be delivered on this date. No, why should I reiterate? They know it. They should obey them. I should not monitor. Why should I monitor? I have given them work. They know when to be delivered. They know everything. If they have some problem, they can reach out to me. Why should I monitor? But I end up monitoring them. So I want a world where I need not to monitor them altogether. They should not take the advantage of the situation because they are working. They should not cheat me because I cannot see them. They should be proactive. When the issue arises, They should not give excuse that because this issue arises, I couldn't do it. Instead of that, they should look forward and take an extra step and try to resolve it, highlight it to me and resolve it proactively instead of giving the excuse of the same. Talk to the other team members and collaborate with them. Why should I tell them, talk to this, talk to this? They should do it themselves. Go an extra mile and to resolve issues, to resolve conflicts, to resolve problems which are coming in the project, which bound to come, and especially in this situation. Go an extra mile, put an extra effort. And last but not the least, rise to the occasion. This is tough time. This is difficult time. We are working together. We should work together. They should rise to this occasion and stay motivated and work towards the objective to achieve. But the question persists. How can this be achieved? I will introduce you a theory. I think you probably, most of them, you may be aware about this theory altogether because it is 60 years old theory. It was given in 1960 by McGregor. So Mr. McGregor gave a theory called theory X and theory Y. He gave the perspective of two managers, or he gave the assumptions, the perception, or the viewpoint of two managers, contrasting views, the belief of different managers. These views are complete on the other is on the extreme right. Let's look at this, how these manager X and manager Y look like. If you look at the theory X manager, he sees his team members like this. You can think about anything negative and you can put it here. They dislike work. They resist change. They don't want to change. They don't take responsibility. They need continuous monitoring. They need to be controlled. They need to be forced, threatened to do the work. All the time it must be supervised, otherwise they will not do the work. If there is no visible benefit, they will just don't do work. So I have to give them some benefit and punishment if they don't do. Either they should be rewarded or punished depending upon the outcome. If they do something, they achieve the objective, or they do something good, I will reward them. And if they are unable to achieve, then I will punish them. And that's the theory X person's viewpoint or his belief or his understanding towards his team members. On the other side, if you see the theory Y manager, he's just opposite. He says the people are themselves motivated. They are they take interest in the work. They take initiative, very enthusiastic about the work. They enjoy their work. They take responsibility, accept it, take initiative, put an extra mile. They want to perform. They want to show that they are doing a good job. They don't need directions or supervision. They just need guide. I just have to give them where they face problem, just help them out at that point. They love challenges, and once they achieve those, they overcome those challenges, they feel it fulfilling. They are creative and participate in decision making. So I just need to help them out, and they will do their job as such very easily. So when you see from outside a theory X or theory Y from their action, so what they believe in, accordingly they take actions. So when they take action, you can easily see that what kind of manager he is, what is his thought process, what is his viewpoint. So when you see from outside as a neutral person, you will see them like this. The manager X will look like a taskmaster, a dictator, a boss, supervisor, The person who forceful on the efficiencies. Have you put 8 hours in a day or not? Give the carrot and keep the stick in hand, right? On the other side, a manager Y will look like a guide, a mentor, advisor, counselor. He focus on efficacy. Efficacy is more about effectiveness, not he is not bothered about how many hours you have put in. He's bothered about what you're supposed to do, how you achieved it, or you need some kind of help. He understands people's need. Now, I'm not going to teach you theory X and theory Y. Actually, I'm going to use this as a base, as a platform to bring those perspectives which will help us to lead our team in a way that they become very productive. They become a happy team. They become a very efficient team. They are like they look like manager Y. So I'm just giving you two perspectives. Probably we are neither X nor Y. I'm not going to get into this. You are X or Y. I do not want. Basically, I'm building a platform on which we will learn what to do and what not to do. And using this platform, I'm going to give you difference between two very close definitions, very close words, or words which are used together many times. But many times we are confused what they really mean. And I'm trying to bring those real meanings and see that what we should do and what we should not do. Where should we move, where we should not move. What should be our approach, what should not be our approach. And this is the platform. So I have built a platform on McGregor theories of X and Y. Look at this. You can see X and Y, X on the left extreme and Y on the right extreme. And there's a pattern of mix of X and Y. And you will see that probably none of us are pure X or pure Y. I think pure Y, you are actually, you need not to learn anything in this webinar as such. And if you are pure X, then probably it's irrelevant to have such kind of webinar. Right? So nobody is here actually the X or pure Y. We are actually mix of X and Y. Sometimes we act as X, sometimes we act as Y. While the manager X see the team members as they don't have any heart, they're completely machine. They just produce things. They don't have any heart, they have any mind, they no emotions kind of things. While the Y manager see the people angle only. He doesn't see that they are actually the delivery, the machines. He sees that they are people and they're going to work like a people. They cannot work as machine. And so most of us sometimes some behavior of X have some behavior of Y, some behavior of X. So probably some people are exactly in between. Some people are here, some people are here, some people are here, some people are here, some may be here, some may be here, some may be here. I do not want to go too much towards X too much actually. I love that people should be here. When you are X or when you are Y or when you are X, what it look like? As I said, all of us are mix of X and Y. Is there anything wrong with that? Nothing. It is like we are, and nothing can be done in this. especially in the current situation. But look at the characteristic of X and Y. X approach will bring results very quickly. However, it sacrifices the long-term results. In the long term, it will damage the working environment. It will make the people more tense, stressful, fearful of you, and reduce their effectiveness and contribution. If you are more like X, if you are acting more like X, the people will be like work till the time you are in front of them. As soon as you are get away from them, they will simply don't do. They do as per their wish. And then you will wonder, I said 10 times to them that do this way. Why don't they do this way? Because they're not convinced. Because we are working like X. On the other side, if we work like Y, it will take a little time to get the results, especially short-term results. But in the long term, things will be permanent. If you get the results, they will not going to be short-term. They will be permanent. They will be going long-term, and it will uplift. It will motivate the people. It will de-stress the people. It will give them an environment where they will like to contribute in the whole work. And that is where we have to see that how we can get contribution from the people. You don't need to be there all the time. So what is X? X get short-term results on the sacrifice of long-term results, while the Y will get long-term results sacrificing the short-term results. So X is a short-term approach, Y is a long-term approach. So when time is an essence, you probably end up taking X approach. When you can wait, you have time, you probably take Y approach. But you know, most of the time what we do, we mismanage our time so well that whatever can be done tomorrow, we postpone it till the time it become urgent. You know, our habits. Stephen Covey and very many people have talked about the things that there is something important but not urgent. Because it's not urgent, you keep postponing it till the time it becomes urgent. Right? And when it becomes urgent, you can't really take approach Y. Because now it will be done now. You will take an X approach. Now, when you take X approach, you will sacrifice the long-term results on short-term outcome. So that need to be strategized, that need to be in our habits, how we have to develop a culture in our project or in our work environment that will allow us to take Y approach continuously so that we never need to use an X approach. Let's take an example of a project plan. Suppose you have to develop a project plan. How do you take X approach and Y approach? Suppose you want to develop a project plan. If you prepare a project plan yourself, you say, okay, this person will do this, this person will do this, you allocate everything. You are the only person who is developing the project plan. Probably you are taking an approach. You develop the project plan, give it to your team members, tell them, okay, this is the project plan, you execute as per this. Now, whose project plan is this? This is not team members' project plan. This is your project plan. Who is executing? Those are executing. Have they buy-in in this project plan? No, they don't have. Do I understand that they need a buy-in? I probably do not understand that they really buy in. I'm the project manager. I have prepared a plan. They have team members. They must execute it. And if this happens, the chances is that they will not themselves will execute. You have to monitor them all the time. And if you do not monitor, they will not do. And you will suffer problems irrespective of that. Even they are sitting closer to you, it will the same thing happen. When you are not around, they will not. But if you prepare a plan which you involve all the people in this, you involve all the people in this, you take their opinion, you take their understanding of risk, obstacles, and incorporate this in the plan, you will take a long time in preparing the plan. It will take time. It will not be prepared very soon. Now what will happen? But once it is prepared, that because all have prepared together, all have ownership in the plan. Because all have prepared together, you need not to tell team members that you have to execute this. He himself has prepared. He knows that what is to be done. The plan you need not to give to them. They already have it because they have prepared it. And there is a ownership. There is a sense of ownership because they are involved in the planning. They are involved in preparing what steps they have to take. So your involvement is execution will come down. It is not required to be, you need not to be prepared or present there all the time because they know everything, they're involved, their ownership is there, but it will take time. So first approach will be faster, but execution will be very difficult. The second, the preparation will take time, but execution will be faster. You know, the plan does not take as much time as the execution. You just decide which approach you want to take. Right? So let's look at this, how we can do this. Now the whole thing is that which approach you will take. Many people will recommend a mixed approach. Many people will recommend a mixed approach. But you have to look at this. Every time you use an X approach, you get quick results, but at a cost. It will not sustain and damage the environment. So out of 10 times, 5 times you take X approach, you actually damaging things. You are getting quicker results at a cost, and the cost may be much heavier. We need to see what cost we are taking. Sometimes this cost is not visible to us. Right? So what I say, I don't recommend a mixed approach. If mixed approach means we are continuing with the current approach, we are today also mixed approach. The simple thing is that if you want to be a leader, if you don't want to monitor your team every now and then, if you want better productivity, better effectiveness, more output from your team, I say you don't have a choice except to move towards Y. Now, why I'm saying move towards Y? Because you cannot be Y tomorrow. These are most behavioral skills. So you practice them, you learn them, practice them, learn them, practice them, learn them, practice them. It's an art. If you start moving towards Y, you will go on Y side more and more. Again, the question comes, how? So now we will look into this, how to move towards Y. What we should do so that we move towards Y and get away from X approach on a continuous basis. You need a different paradigm altogether. You need to think very differently. You have a different viewpoint altogether. When you take team members on your team, you take their interviews. You ask your resource manager, does he know this? Does he know this? How is his attitude? Will he's a quick learner? Will he do this? Will he do this? Will he know, does he know this? All kind of things, what the team member can do for this project or for me basically. But you have ever thought what I can do for the team members? For what team members have come? Just think about that. You also a team member, or you were at some point of time team member. Don't you think that you have expectation from your managers, that what you want from managers? What kind of value add you look forward from your managers? And the team member may be coming from this. Everybody has something in mind like that. What's in it for me? Let me join you, but what's in it for me? मेरे को क्या फायदा होगा? What is the benefit for me? And if I cannot tell the person what is the benefit for you to be on this project, or on this assignment, or on this work, or on this uh, effort, why team member should be interested in my work? Because he does something, I am interested in him. I cannot do anything for him. Neither I have ever committed him anything. Why should he interested? So we need to, if we want people to be self-motivated, self-working, they do things with their interest, we have to invoke that interest into them by thinking what they want from us. The first question is not, I'm not saying either or, I'm saying we have both the things there. What I need from team members, as well as what team members need from me. What I can give to my team member, what value add can I do when he has come to this assignment, when he go away from this assignment, what kind of value add this project or this work or this effort, or me as a project manager, or as a manager, or as a product manager, or any kind of manager will add value in this person. Lifetime he will remember me and look forward to join me back. He remembered that, okay, the life there was so good. Wherever he free, he will call me and say, can I join you? Don't you want such kind of scenario? Then you need to ask, why anybody report to me? What is the benefit for him to report to me? Answer this question, write it down. What kind of value add I'm going to do? What is the benefit to my team members being in my team? Personal benefit. Will he get elevated? Will he get raise in his salary? Will he become more skillful? Will he become better person? Will he go with uplifting his skill, will do better job after this work? This is the question we need to ask and find out what we need to do for our people. Work in the interest of the people. If we want people to work in our interest, the life is reciprocative. What you do, they will do to you. If you have called somebody in your son's birthday, he will call you in his son's or daughter's birthday. Isn't it like that? So if you give something to them, you will get it back to them, back from them. So that is the first thing we need to think, that the team members are there to get some value add being with me. And that is my job, that I will add some value. How to move towards why? We have to move from penalizing to appreciating. Very simple. We don't understand when we are penalizing, when we are appreciating. If a person has not done the job and we says that you will your numbers will be reduced, we don't consider it. We see it is justifiable. It is justified thing. He has less contribution. He has less performance. Therefore, his number will be less. His appraisal must be impacted. We don't think it's penalizing. We are penalizing for not doing the work. But before that, have we understand how many times we have appreciating? Fair enough, you can do penalize, but how much time you have appreciated the person? You know, what is this? This is ratio of punishment and appreciation. It should be 1:10. You become eligible to penalize somebody once you appreciate the person 10 times. Otherwise, you are just not eligible for it. Try it out. You probably forget the penalization word altogether. Because after appreciating 10 times, you probably didn't get the opportunity or do not get the opportunity altogether to use this. What next? Move from aggressiveness to assertiveness. I think this word aggressive used in corporates like anything. It's a loved word actually by many people. People don't understand this will take you towards the X direction. If you are more aggressive, you will going to X direction. If you are more assertive, you going to Y direction. Aggressiveness, yet you are a demanding person. You demand. How do you find out that how you are demanding? Your words look like this: I want, I need, I must have by tomorrow morning. I need this in 2 hours. I can't wait anymore. Just look back and see how many times you have used these words. You ask that somebody has not done the job and you ask him, why didn't you do that? This is the words which reflects aggressiveness, demanding. You are demanding. Demanding person insult the person, insult the other people. Don't work hard, work smart. How many times you have told this to your subordinates or listened from your bosses? You know, it is insulting. How insulting? We are virtually telling the team member or the person who is reporting to us that you are a donkey actually. You are working hard. It's an indirect mean is you are working hard. Let me show you how to work smart. I am smarter than you. Come on. You have recruited a person. The person cannot be that dumb actually. Stop using these words. If you don't do this, then you threaten the person actually. You will threatened as such. Don't allow the people to give their views, express themselves. You just assume this person is like that because you are in hurry, right? Aggressiveness is hurry. You want immediately. That's not going to work. Let's see how we can become assertive. The assertive person don't ask for I want, I need. Is ask probing questions. For example, do you see any hurdle in achieving it? Trying to understand, will tomorrow the team member will get some kind of hurdle? Let's discuss this today and so that we don't get it all together. Instead of pushing the people for faster decision, demonstrate it by making the decision faster. Aggressive person, the assertive person make decision faster. He does not expect people to make decisions. Why? Because why the person is not taking decision? Because there's some risk involved in it. Because there's some risk involved in it. The person is fearful in taking decision. You take risk on him. Probably you tell him, you take a decision, any risk is mine. If any problem occurs, you just leave it on me. And then you see the person you make him risk-free. By demonstrating him risk-free, you are taking the risk, you make him more risk-taker. Next time he try to take the risk for his subordinate, for the person, report him actually. You make him risk-free. You demonstrate that how the risk can be taken, how risk can be absorbed. I will take care of risk. You do the job, risk is my job. You take the decision, I will take care of anything goes wrong. Show empathy. Let me see what the problem something is going wrong and you don't actually give solution, you suggest some solution. Why don't you try this? Why don't you try this? What about if you think like this is also an option, let's try this out? Or what do you think about this option? You present him some options which you want him to consider. He has not considered. You don't punish people, but invoke a self-punitive attitude. When the person is not performed, you see is like, I'm contributor in this. I'm basically contributor in this. So you impose a penalty on yourself for your team members not performing. You say, I have not performed as a leader. I have not performed well. Therefore, you are unable to do it. Probably if you really have to give punishment, but also give a punishment to yourself because you are a contributor in this. And that is where the person will trust you. Move from motivating to inspiring. Now, this could be very confusing. What is motivating? We want people to motivate. Everybody is telling that how you can keep your people motivated, and now you are saying don't motivate them, go towards inspiring. But there is a big difference between motivation and inspiring. When you motivate, you act on them. You do something so that they act. But when you inspire, you act on yourself. You demonstrate, you show, you do it not for show purpose, you actually do it. And by seeing you, they got inspired. So you act on you. You actually have no control on other people. Don't try to control other people. Don't try to motivate other people. You really can't motivate anyone. You didn't understand. Say, probably I couldn't explain it to you properly. Let me try once more. Let me try once more. Use these kind of words. I'm just giving you a pattern how you can switch to inspiring. So we have to move from downloading to delegating. Basically, we are talking about like not something which is overflowing going to the other people. I am so overflown with the work. So many things have come to me that I am just not able to manage them. I give it to somebody else and say, you do it. And I don't have any time to help him out. This is called downloading. No strategy, nothing. I just have taken the work and give it to somebody. He's unprepared. I'm also unprepared. I have no time to support him also. Mostly it will result into a lot of hot talks. Let it be strategic. Delegate as part of a strategy. Develop a strategy. Find out which work to be delegated, and then identify a person. Identify who is eligible for it, who is nearer to it, who can fill the gap and complete this job. Give him and provide some support so that he can do the job. Take out time to support this person. If you are not supporting, he will not be able to do the job. Move from tricking to trusting. Now, how many times you move into a problem which you cannot solve, you cannot give any answer, you don't have answers, you need to talk to some senior person and then tell something, or you don't want to say something, yes or no, or you don't want to give a favorable answer, neither the unfavorable answer. You try to give some round and round answer, right? You think that you will get away from the question? Probably not. The team member probably will bear it, but he knows that you have tricked him. You have avoided the question. It will not going to help. Understand this is a long-term relationship and not one or two transactions. If you try to trick the people, you will get the same thing back to you. Don't try to trick the people. Be honest. Honest is the best policy in this case. You tell them, I cannot do anything. I'm not in the position to say you yes or no. I can come back to you. But don't try to trick, because it's a relationship for months, for years. People are not foolish. If you think people are foolish, your trick will work, then you probably a bigger fool. You have hired foolish people. Only two things possible if you think people can be tricked. Either you have hired fool people, so you are a bigger fool, or you have hired intelligent people, but you think that they can be tricked. Come on. It just don't happen. So be honest, understand you have intelligent people in your team. They will easily figure it out how, what you are doing. And if they are not able to figure it out what you are doing and your trick, probably they don't deserve its place in your team. They will not do your job. Better hire somebody else. Now look at this, what we can do in this. All these things are there. We take some initiative, we will move towards that, but this will not going to happen in one day. We have to develop a culture. Culture means, what do you mean by developing culture? Like moving from conscious to subconscious. That means like riding a cycle, riding a bicycle. What you do first, when you learn, you do it consciously, but after a certain time, when you do it again and again, then later you actually do not bother. You don't know actually when you have riding on the bicycle. It just happened its own. It goes into subconscious. Same the culture is. When you bring the change and when you do it again and again, when you practice it, when you persist on it, this will become a culture. Culture take time. Until that time, you need to persist. You need to persist. It will until unless it will become a DNA of your team. Otherwise, this whole work will go back to the square. This is not for some time. This is a permanent thing. You will always be like that, and you become better and better on that side. Okay. Thank you very much for your time, and I'm for spending like some time with me. I think we have some time, and we can take up some questions if there are any.
I'll just ask the first one. So this one is from Mr. Sachin. He's basically running a system integration company with a team of around 60 guys. So his question is, I think, about metrics. He's asking how to measure work done by employee remotely, and how to measure volume and quality as well.
Yeah, so like I said, probably you can give this responsibility to them only. This is the best way to achieve this, because it's very difficult to monitor any other person. So what I did actually, I have the similar cases with me. What I try to do, I sit with the people and prepare a monitoring a metrics with them. Okay, what could be a good thing, what could be a bad thing, and let's put up some kind of numbers which people can fill their own. And I tell them, you assess your performance and fill your number. What happens initially? People give good numbers to them, but I normally challenge them. Can you prove that? Why? How you give these numbers? Like what you did? Is this okay or not? And when it comes to performance, I also fill the same sheet. And then I tell, and I give, normally when people do this, I give my marks less, stating that I'm not able to convince you properly, and therefore probably I'm not doing a good job, and therefore my marks should be less. This is called self-punitive action. So instead of punishing the other person, I try to punish myself in that. I say my performance is low because I'm not able to convince you properly. That's probably a little shorter answer, I think.
Yeah. So there's a question from Ashutosh. Ashutosh, can you ask your question? It's a bit longish one, so I guess he'll be able to explain it properly.
Okay.
Ashutosh? Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead. I am able to hear you.
Yeah, sir, I am actually running an engineering consultancy, and I am maintaining my small office along with my small team of engineers. Now, what happens with the client, especially Indian clients, when they award the projects, they usually want to see the infrastructure and the kind of people you have working with you. So how do we convince our clients now to move towards the remote working teams? Do you think that they will be accepting it? Because when I deal with clients outside India, they are okay with this kind of teams. But when we deal with clients within India, they are concerned about the quality and the project timelines.
Right. So what is actually happening when a foreign company is coming, they are remotely there. They expect that the person is not very well in all organization, etc., and therefore he's doing this work. But the people from India or Indian company, they don't think this way because this is a complete different environment. Why they are seeing their office, why they want to see your office? They want to see your office to see that are you trustworthy? They want to see, do you have standing? Will you able to manage this kind of project or not? They actually trying to judge not your infrastructure. Through looking at the infrastructure, they want to ascertain that you have standing and you will stand and complete the project. If there is any other way, if you can tell them, maybe you can tell them some success story of similar size and tell them that, okay, though we are not having this kind of office, still we have delivered these kind of things, and you can talk to these people. This kind of the things will be reduced actually. The problem is trust of that do you have standing? Will you be able to handle this kind of project, or you will not run away in between, or you will like, I will not move into trouble by giving the work to you. That is where the things, once you give one project to them, they will not look at your infrastructure altogether, I can tell you.
Okay,
But the first thing is there. So you have to bring some other success story to tell them that how you are trustworthy.
okay. Can you just touch upon the earlier slide, aggressive versus assertive? There are a lot of queries regarding that actually.
Okay.
And one on motivation as well. I think we lost you during that slide.
Okay.
Just a brief overview.
Right,
We don't
right.
have much time actually.
Yeah. I will just move here.
Yeah.
I think this is
Yeah, this
right.
one.
So aggressive means you need you have lot of expectation from the people. You want lot of things from the people. Aggressiveness, I show them by doing myself. I become an example. I assertive means instead of like I want to make these people make better, faster decision. I take that faster decision. They are not able to take, I take it. And I say, okay, can you take, maybe next time, why don't you like, or give them suggestions or give them risk-free, saying that, okay, you do the work, leave the negative side, or if something goes wrong, I'm there to take care. Something like, so this becomes assertiveness. You are firm to do these things. You are not moving away from the decision. You want it to happen, but no compromise on the work, but risk is mine. Decision is yours. This is what, or aggressive person will put the things on the other person. I think motivating versus inspiring also, like this is very confusing as such. So the difference between the motivation and inspiring is that motivation, you do something so the people act. Inspiring, I act, people take inspiration from my action. That's the difference. So I act wherever I see the people, that like in the decision making, people are not able to take decision. I say I take a decision. So I do not motivate them to take decisions. How to take decision? उसने ऐसा लिया था, इसने ऐसा किया था, वो उसने किया था. अरे मैं हूं ना यहाँ पर, मैं बताता हूँ ना कैसे लिया जाता है. 10 लोगों का एग्जाम्पल देने की जरूरत नहीं है. मैं लेके मैं दिखाता हूँ कि कैसे कर सकते हैं. अगली बार का भी बताता हूँ. अगली बार आप क्या कर सकते हो ये भी बताता हूँ मैं. Let me explain you. Next time how you can do it. That is the difference actually.
Okay. Thanks. I think we have come to the end of the session time, which has been allocated to us.
Right.
Mr. Vivek Prakash, thank you for a very interesting session. I know working from home is very stressful and has lots of constraints.
Yeah.
It's a challenge actually. I can quote my own example that is more stressful to work from home than work from office. So thank you for the insights you have given during this session. And probably we can do a bigger program once we start our normal operations. It will give more insights and more scope for interaction, because 1 hour, I guess, is very less time to interact.
Yeah, this could be a full day program actually.
Right, right. So we can think about that. So a lot of interest amongst our members and industry.
That will be
So
great.
thank you once again. Thank you all for participating in today's session. If you visit the website mccipune.com, you will find information about the forthcoming sessions as well, and you can register from the links which are available on the website. So with this, I think we'll conclude the session. Thank you once again.
Very much. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the people who attended this webinar, and thank you very much to Prashant, and thank you very much to the MCCIA giving me an opportunity to present my